up, fam? Welcome to Lazy Booking on A2DRadio.com. Niche night, Thursday night. You got Lazy Booking kicking it off. Hockey Happy Hour comes at you later tonight at 10 p.m. Maddie's going to be doing double duty, double dipping tonight.
As always.
I am one of your hosts. I'm Chrome with my co-host here to this direction. I had to figure out which way to turn my head. Mr. Maddie Sinsuti, the Ginger Gang. What's up, brother?
What is up, man?
Boop. And with us, I figured it out. I was like, wait, it's the opposite of what I think.
I still can't figure this out.
and with us today, once again, our buddy over at In This Very Ring, another great wrestling show on A2DRadio.com, Mr. Andy Ritter, Ritz himself, Stack Guy Ritz, who's going to be clutch today. He's going to be pulling up some names for us today. We are brought to you by Specialized Physical Therapy, Dr. Paul Vidal in Burlington, Cherry Hill, Princeton, New Jersey. You can find him on the web with no appointment necessary. SpecializedPhysicalTherapy.com. Especially now, if you need to get their services, hit the website. They're going to give you directions because they're doing things a little differently with the COVID situation. So make sure you check it out, SpecializedPhysicalTherapy.com first, and they'll direct you on how to set things up with them. We're also brought to you by Ambuck Services. Ambuck, you need gutter guards, gutter cleaning, tree trimming, deck restoration, installation, all kinds of things. You need to hit them up. They are awesome. Let them know that Tom and the fam sent you. You get 20% off from their services, ambuckservices.com. Guys, crazy day yesterday. We kind of altered. Last week we teased with the fam, told them, hey, do your homework, watch, get caught up on this season of Dark Side of the Ring, because we really wanted to hit that. But things changed. Clearly yesterday there was a big tweets dropped from Ryan Satin and from some other people out there that basically said noon conference call with the investors, a lot of announcements, cost-cutting things are expected to happen, including talent. Guys, we're going to go through it. It was a bloodbath yesterday. Not really a whole surprise on the names, but the quantity of things.
There were a few surprises, though.
Yeah. We're gonna pull the list up momentarily. We're gonna go over that. Yeah, so with that, our QB 54 topic of conversation, and again, guys, QB 54 is the best tailgate game in the business. We love it. Check it out. Summer's coming. Play in your backyard. Play in the fall when we will have football. Whether you're playing in a parking lot of a stadium or you're playing at home before the game, there will be somewhere to play QB54. And you check them out, playqb54.com. You use the promo code No Notes, get you 10% off.
Even if it's just Pee Wee football, at least there's some kind of football.
But
that first Pee Wee game is going to be packed.
And you know what? At this rate, is there anybody who's not going to take Pee Wee football? I mean, realistically.
ESPN can start broadcasting that shit right now, and it will do double the ratings SportsCenter usually does.
Dude, they're on weekends. They're running the Ocho, and they have all kinds of shit. I was enamored watching a dodgeball championship between USA and Canada recently.
Wait, they really had a dodgeball?
They had dodgeball. They had Tetris. They had the Tetris tournament. It's crazy.
A Tetris tournament. Oh, wow.
And apparently, I didn't get to watch that one. I turned it on too late, but everybody who watched it said it was like must-see television. They were like, surprisingly, you'd be shocked how fascinating a television was.
And not to get on a tangent, but watching some of those gaming tournaments, and I'm sure it was a gaming tournament, right? They're intense. They're more intense than most football games I've watched.
Oh, absolutely. Sure. I've seen some of the fighting ones that they stream on Twitch. And it's down like crazy with some of the stuff they do. I was getting pumped, and I can't play nearly as good as they can, but it was freaking amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's insane. But listen, our QB54 topic of conversation, WWE's job cuts were necessary. Agree, disagree. It's been a hotbed topic. A lot of people are talking about it. Andy looks like he wants to cry for everybody right now.
I do. Because we furloughed a ton of staff where I work, right? And these are your friends. These are people that you're, especially for, my profession, being in sales, I see these people 10, 12 hours a day. And to go to work now and not see them and know they're sitting at home and everything like that. Like, that's heartbreaking. So for me, like, my heart bleeds for these people. And in a weird way, because I watched my GSM go through it, like, whoever had to be the person to tell them, and everybody's given WWE a hard time for, doing it via text message. That's better. Like, my friend had to go furlough some people where she works, because she's in that role, and she's like, I went home and I cried.
Yeah.
I feel like in a situation like this, like, it's just heartbreaking, to furlough somebody or to just straight up release them. I get it. I think in a time like this where you're not having that additional income from the gate, from concessions, from merchandising, you have to make some of these cuts. You have to, right? But it's just, and we always expect it, right? We always get spring cleaning, we always get winter cleaning. But I have to agree with the poll question. I think it was necessary, right? You got to stop the bleeding somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, and usually when they do the spring cleaning, it's just talent that they're not using, most of the time, and it's just it's a tough situation to be in. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, and I get why so many people are mad at them because of the situation that's going on right now, where so many people are now losing their jobs, and with how difficult it is for you to get even unemployment because everything is so overblown. But at the end of the day, it's just like WWE's just following in the footsteps most of the other companies did because of the fact that the financial burden is heavy, and imagine WWE's bigger than some of the companies that had to let off some employees, not like the big giant restaurant chains or the giant, like, other store. Yeah, basically. Whereas, but WWE, in terms of that, they're the big chain in the wrestling world. So when they let people go, it's massive. That's a huge, huge change. Whereas if AEW did it, it's like, okay, it's the secondary one. You can imagine them taking a big hit. But when WWE takes a big hit, it's like, holy shit, that sends a ripple effect right through the wrestling industry.
Yeah, I mean, see, what people don't understand is first of all, you didn't have that WrestleMania money that you have. Yeah. You don't have the live house show money. You don't have those merch sales at house shows. Now, obviously, people are still purchasing online, and they're running a lot of deals to do that. I mean, a lot of people have done that. I went on the NHL site at one point a month ago, and they had a 65% off sale on all merchandise. Like, I should have got a jersey then, to be honest with you. But, like, everybody's doing that because they're trying to explore all these different avenues to try to compensate for some of their lost sales, right? Their lost income. But they're a company like anybody else, right? Like, yeah, they have all this money, but you have to think about how they continue to accrue all of that money. And when all of that stops, they take a bigger hit. And I'm not saying bigger in terms of in percentage wise. I'm just talking about, to me, it almost equals out in that terms because they pay higher salaries because of the fact that they do have to pay for, or they have all these, merchandising and everything else that they have to invest the money in order to be able to flip it and sell it. There's all these different things, these avenues of revenue that are missed here. And it's, unfortunately, these things happen during a pandemic. And here's what really gets me going, guys. Okay. I'm watching. We were all following all day yesterday. Like, let's be real. We all were at our phones. We were dropping names. Me, Andy, and Ryan were in a chat, and we were just like, as each name was released, we were dropping just the name in to let, like, you know what I mean? It was like one of those things. It was crazy. And I go to social media, and I see all these people posting about how WWE is terrible for releasing these people or furloughing some of them. And we're going to get into those details momentarily. And I can't believe they did this and this and that. These are the same motherfuckers that a month ago, not even a month ago, were on the same pages, bitching and crying and pissing themselves because WWE might cancel WrestleMania and take away their fucking meet and greets, guys. The same motherfuckers. Now they're talking about people staying in their fucking houses and this and that. When these dumbasses 2 weeks ago were sitting there still crying about not getting their fucking meet and greet with Jinder Mahal.
Oh, that's one to get mad over.
And I gotta tell you, they're a bunch of fucking hypocrites. They're a bunch of losers who don't keep up with fucking what's going on in society, okay? It's the same people who were pissed off that even when they were talking about still doing access, I can't believe they might make us stand 6 feet away from everybody. I can't believe I can't touch them. Like, and now they're saying, oh my God, times are so hard. People are staying home. How could you do this to them? You motherfuckers.
Well, and to take that a different way, right? Like at the end of the day, WWE is still business, right? It's still a company, it's still a business. Look at your own company that you work for, right? I guarantee you, not everybody at your company still works there during this. Everybody's had to make cuts one way or another. To turn around and say how WWE is, a horrible entity. Vince McMahon's got all this greed. Like I saw a comment early on. Somebody said it's just typical WWE greed. No, it's making a necessary, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, it's what's best for business.
No. You want to know what's greed? Go watch the most recent episode of Dark Side of the Ring and what Vince McMahon did to cover up Snuka's murder. And you tell me that that's greed right there.
You ain't wrong. That's a different topic for another day.
You ain't wrong.
That's a teaser. That's a teaser for the next week's episode. We got to tease the people.
Right. Side note, real quick, before you make your point. I'm almost kind of glad that we're waiting though, because the episode since the show started that I wanted to see is Dino Bravo, and we're going to be able to get this in time. We're going to be able to get this in on the show next week, so I'm really excited for that. Had to get that out there. Make sure you guys check the Dino Bravo story is crazy. Andy, go ahead.
But anyway, right? Like, so you still have to make these decisions based on your company. What keeps the company afloat? Everybody's like, well, the NFL didn't cut anybody. The NHL didn't cut anybody. These assholes don't get money if they don't play. Correct me if I'm wrong, right?
Yeah, Joey DiBardino, Chrome, you're a lot less grumpy when you had the mustache.
He's not wrong, though. But
you're right.
But I mean, you have to stop the bleeding somewhere. I don't know how many times I can stress that. Does it suck that it had to come during this time? Absolutely. Are some of these people going to be sitting at home for an extensive amount of time? Yeah, because no one's going to bring anybody on right now.
Listen, I'll tell you what, and it's a good thing, so I don't mean it to come off negative.
Uh-oh.
But I'm going to be realistic here. Michael Bennett, his real name. I'm not going Michael Canales. Michael Bennett has been sitting home for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
WWE got him clean and paid him $500,000 over the last 2 years. And he didn't have to do shit.
Other than make another
baby. And he has another baby. Do you honestly think that I feel terrible about that?
With Maria.
With Maria. Like, and it sounds heartless the way I'm saying it, but like, this is what people don't think about. This is what they don't. And I'm not saying everybody makes that kind of money in wrestling, but the bottom line is, a lot of these names on here, they're not being utilized. They're being paid not to work. And when you have to cut costs, like if you really look at the list, right? And we're going to pull it up in a minute.
Just throw it up now.
Majority of the list is house show talent. They don't work television.
I mean, there's only like one.
So here's the list via Ringside News.
There's really only one that caught me off guard. Everything else makes sense. It's no real surprise that these guys are gone, really, at the end of the day. They weren't doing anything with them. So, perfect example, Aiden English was on that list. What the hell was he doing? Like, for a good year? Well, yeah, that's it. And then he was doing color commentary on 205 Live before they shut that down. So it's like...
There's another big name.
And
EC3 hasn't done anything since the gay porn vignette to bring him in.
What did you just call it?
Gay porn vignette.
It was like a gay porn vignette.
I must have missed that episode of In This Very Lazy Booking.
To be fair, though,
I pulled that from people saying that on the internet, buddy. That's not my take.
To be fair, though, that promo video, they did have an up-close shot of his ass taking off his fucking dress pants to show the back of his trunks.
Very weird.
Yeah, I can't deny. I can't
Listen.
deny that's what it was.
Let's go through the list, guys. Okay, let's go through the list, and
Okay.
we can break down the names, who surprised us, who didn't. We're gonna go through. It's gonna have the in-ring talent. It's gonna have the other talent, television talent that's not in the ring. It's gonna have producers, and what was the other thing it has?
So it has on-screen talent, it has WWE Performance Center coaches, and it has producers.
Okay.
Okay, all right. So let's do the on-screen talent first. Okay.
Okay.
Let's go from the top
All right.
here. Give me back to the top here, Randy. All right. So Drake Maverick.
What'd you call
Kurt
me?
Hawkins, Andy.
I heard
I thought-
Randy.
Yeah, I
said
thought you
Andy.
said Randy too.
I said here, Andy.
Uh-huh.
Get me
Okay.
to the top of the list here, Andy.
I
Okay.
thought you were going to say Randall Keith for a moment there, but anyway.
Moving on.
Mouth. All right. So we have Drake Maverick, Kurt Hawkins, Zack Ryder, Heath Slater, Luke Gallows, and Anderson. Gallows and Anderson was slightly a surprise for me.
Yeah.
Slightly. Rusev. I threw that out to you right away in the morning, Andy.
Yeah.
No Way Jose, Sarah Logan, Michael Kanellis, Maria Kanellis, Aiden English, EC3, Leo Rush, Eric Young, Primo, and Epico. Primo and Epico have been. How long have these guys been getting paid and not working television?
I think it's almost been a decade, because think about how long ago El Matadors were, and then think about how long ago it was when they weren't doing El Matadors. They had Rosa Mendez as their freaking valet.
Oh my God, I remember that.
They've been around for a long time.
Yeah.
Well, and like,
Primo's been in WWE longer than Carlito was.
that was something I said too, and I had so many different chats going yesterday, so I may have said it to you, Crum, I don't know, but like somebody like Heath Slater, you forget that he's been there 15 years, 14 years, whatever it is. Like some of these names, when you look at it, it's like, holy shit, they were with the company for a long time.
They were.
Yeah. And that's the thing. We're going to be hitting one of those big names in a minute. Eric Rowan, that's all the main, quote unquote, main roster talent, right?
Uh-huh.
So the way it goes with the main roster, from my understanding, they get paid 90 days and they have a 90-day no compete. They get paid for that period of time.
Okay.
So again, let's forget, guys. These guys aren't just getting cut right away. There's a severance for them. Okay?
Yeah, they're still getting paid.
And for a lot of these guys, AEW and may be able to start running live television again, or start to do another collection of taped episodes. They can bring some of these people in.
Mm-hmm.
So then NXT they're getting paid for 30 days, and they have a 30-day non-compete. Deonna Purrazzo, Alexander Jackson, I can't say his
I don't
name.
even know who that guy is.
MJ Jenkins, Josiah Williams, Dorian Mack. The one big surprise to me, Mike Chioda,
That one hurts a little bit.
Been with WWE since 1989. He's a staple of the company. He was a senior referee after Earl Hebner went for a long, long, long time. So that one, I agree. That one, I was a little hurt by that one.
Yeah, that one stings.
I look at him though. He's a guy they could bring back. Or
Chioda? Yeah.
And he's a guy that would happily come back, I think. I mean, I think Chioda, he's never really been in the limelight. He's always been treated pretty fairly. I think he would definitely come back given the opportunity.
Yeah, he's one of those classic refs that you know the name of, even though you shouldn't know the name of the referee.
And not saying, because I know of some instances that have happened in my company and others. He could have said, hey, you know what? Don't fire any of the other refs. I'll leave.
True.
Right.
It's possible he could have gone down on the sword and say, you know what? I'll take it, and you keep the young guys around.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Right. The Performance Center coaches, Serena Deeb, Kendo Cashin, and Ace Steel.
Mm-hmm.
The producers, long list of producers here.
Holy
Kurt
shit.
Angle, Lance Storm, Mike Rotunda, Sarah Stock, Fit Finley was a little bit of a surprise. Shane Helms, Pat Buck, Sean Davari, Scott Armstrong, and Lance Storm. Now, here's the thing with the producers. And again, people just speak and don't know what they're talking about.
Here, hold on. I got your phone.
Yes, there it is. You knew exactly where I was going.
They were furloughed.
Producers
Okay.
are not released. They were furloughed.
I feel like we're going to have to explain what furloughed means for some of these people here.
So I'll give a basic understanding. Furloughed is the difference between being when you're laid off or you're released, you're done. There's no ties to the company. It is what it is. You can get a severance like this talent does, have a no compete in place, but you're essentially done with the company. You have no obligation to come back. A furlough is essentially you keep benefits, all of that stuff. You're still a company employee. However, you do not get a paycheck. And back there isn't a hurricane coming through.
Jesus.
And guys, the thing is, we don't know how long this is going to be going. And, when you hear producer, not all these people are producing television. A lot of these guys are live event producers, and there's no live events.
True.
So you're paying a lot of money to people. I don't care if the cheapest that one of them makes is 50 or 60,000. When you're talking about and I'm sure some of them are making six figures easily.
Yeah.
Joey DiBardino, I can't believe they fired Heath Slater. The man's got kids. What was sad about Heath too? Man, they just had him on the bump with Drew McIntyre too, with a really awesome clip of him getting emotional with Drew's win and congratulating him.
I missed that.
Yeah, he said, I think I sent it to you. You must have missed it. But he said, congratulations. It makes me really proud of where you're at. And just don't forget that your mother's really proud because his mother's deceased and didn't get to say it.
Okay.
It was really, and Heath was teary-eyed and McIntyre was teary-eyed. It was a really cool segment on the bump.
Well, you know what that means. When this whole thing blows over, you bring back Heath Slater, you have him win the WWE title, and now 3MB, WWE champion, and put it on a T-shirt, sell that bitch.
You know what, though? I actually am a huge Heath Slater fan.
I like Heath a lot.
I think he is so underrated to where at this point you want to put the WWE title on him. Screw it, I'm in.
Well, listen, I'm not going to go that far. You want to give him a U.S. or Intercontinental? I'm in.
No, have it be a total schmoz.
Here's the thing:
in fashion, let it be a total schmoz.
It's a triple threat, and he just falls on somebody because he's gotten the crap kicked out of him, so he can't stand up, and he counts to 3.
Oh yeah.
Here's the thing with Heath. Okay, he's always been such a great worker, and he's a great personality. But what when they did the segment to where he basically was refereeing matches and he had to do things that were unethical to keep his job because he's got kids. They did a serious program with him.
Yeah.
And he showed that he could do a serious program. And the crowd got behind him big time. I think that we've said there's a couple of really missed opportunities, with some of these guys, and he would be one of them. Anthony Adis says Dallas Maverick.
I think he means Drake Maverick on that.
EC3, Eric Young, and the other ex-TNA wrestlers should have stayed in TNA or go to NWA. A lot of them, NWA wasn't back, really, the way it is now. I agree with that. He says Eric Rowan is going to go to AEW. Yeah. I think it's a decent fit for him. Dark Side of the Ring is Dark Side of the Ring good. Anthony, it's awesome. I'm telling you, every episode from last season to this season, there has not been a bad episode. They are fantastic shows. Pete says, yo, fam, agree with the poll, but good old Vince is being defiant in the face of scrutiny. He's got to do what he's got to do.
Okay, now, one thing I do want to ask you guys.
Daly says they should have released Lana. I'm a little surprised she stayed.
I will say, what do you guys think about WWE getting essential business status by Florida?
I have no problem with it.
Feelings about it.
It's weird because, I understand if they want to continue doing shows, but it's not an essential business. It's not by definition. It's not.
You're right. It's not by definition an essential business. However, I think because, and this is knowing what I know, right? Knowing how not every detail of the contract, right? But knowing that there's contracts and everything like that involved, and you have major players like Fox and USA involved,
okay,
I think that's where they become deemed an essential business. It's not so much that they're essential to the infrastructure of Florida or Orlando or however they are deemed. What do you mean?
That's why they got essential business status. They are they are deemed a essential for the Florida economy.
But even if we're running empty arena shows, are you still deemed? Is that why? See, I didn't read that article.
I didn't read the whole details of it, but there's some kind of a revenue stream. I do believe that they also made contributions to the relief efforts, significant contributions to the relief efforts. And because of that, listen, Florida's trying to get all sports back. We're talking about spring training. They're trying to get spring training back without people. I don't know the avenues on the ins and outs of the revenue. There's still a revenue stream there for professional sports. It could be simply just paying to use, whatever venues. I don't know. I would have to dig deeper into it. I don't have a problem with it. I don't know if I would call it essential either. But again, I don't know. I'm not a decision maker in that. I don't know what kind of deep dive revenue that they really contribute to it. So
True, and it's tough because you can't really, it's a shame when you think about it because when you think about it, some employees may not feel comfortable still going to work right now. Some of the wrestlers may not feel comfortable getting in the ring right now because of the fact that the virus spreads. Even if you're taking all the precautions in the world, it still doesn't matter. The virus will pop up anywhere half the time. And I can understand that, and I can understand asking employees, do you want to continue? Do you not want to continue? And that would be fair to do, but at the same time, it's hard to do that because of the fact that you have, like you were saying, the revenue streams and the business side of things that no one really pays attention to because they think of it more in black and white. They're thinking it of, strictly, you should just ask the employees, do they want to continue? Do they not want to continue? It's like, yeah, but it's a little bit more complicated than that because you got the contracts and you got all this other logistical stuff.
And the thing is too, it's a business that it's a close set. It's constantly kind of going through, medical testing and things like that. It's not like they're just trotting a bunch of fans out there, trotting them out in front of a bunch of fans and putting people in a situation. Is it an essential business? I don't know. I mean, to me, at this point, any entertainment we have is an essential. But I'll be honest, if they can do things on a safe level, and if the state is comfortable with how they're handling their business from a safety standpoint, who am I to say they're not? And the only thing I would say, Andy, before you jump in, the only thing I don't want to see, and from all reports, you have the people who have agendas who put things out, and I take what they say with a grain of salt. Dave Meltzer, prick. But there are certain people, there's certain things, I don't believe, from what I've read from more credible people, in my opinion, who say that WWE does not force anybody to be there that doesn't want to be there. Listen, you heard Drew McIntyre talk about it. If they can put on a show, a lot of them say, I want to put on a show. They've allowed people to go home that don't want to be there. So, I don't know. I mean, if the talent is safe to commute back and forth, and if they're doing proper precautions themselves at home, then I'm fine with it.
Yeah, and if they're giving people a choice of whether or not they want to continue right now under the circumstances, and they're saying yes, it's like, okay, at least they're giving you the option. They're not telling you, we're not shutting down, you have to get your ass here, or other words, you're fired. They're not doing that, which is, I give them that, because under circumstances like this, you could do that route, and it would be terrible if you did, but they're not. So I'll give them that one. That's the right thing to do.
And to what you guys are saying, right? That's all admirable and that's all great, right? Like, we're not forcing anybody to be, WWE's not forcing anybody to be there, and it's all voluntary. But let's take a step back, and it's also a huge reach, right? But if this is working, if what WWE is doing is working for the WWE, what's to say that this couldn't work for the NFL, for the NHL, for the MLB, right? Like, in my opinion, and again, solely my opinion, people need to shut up and let it happen, right? Because if this works, Chrome, you get your football back. You get your baseball back. Maddie, you're going to get hockey back. You know what I mean? Like this is a great proving ground because it's a small contained area. WWE, and I can't stress it enough, owns the fucking building.
They do.
Right? So this is a perfect way to see if this will work and if it can be done. Right? Because as we said, I don't know what show it was on. I've been on like 30 different shows lately. But if you're going to do MLB out of Arizona, rent out a hotel, put everybody there, or an entire complex, right? Put everybody there, and you've now controlled the environment. That's the whole thing. It's a controlled environment. WWE's created that. WWE created that well before anybody even thought to create that.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm with you, Andy. I mean, kind of to piggyback off of what you're saying, they own the facility. It's like, we could say, hey, we don't want more than a certain number of people at places, but can we tell people not to have people at their houses and physically force them not to do that? No, not unless we're running the National Guard to go out and sit at the end of fucking neighborhoods and start rounding people up.
Then we have another totally different conversation.
Exactly.
And we got a new war on our hands. You don't want that.
Taylor got Corona, says cut Goldberg or Oldberg and Brock and save $20 million. No. Well, Goldberg's kind of per diem, I think, at this point. He has his Legends contract, but he gets paid for when he works, and that money's already spent. But you don't cut Brock.
No, not when he's the talk of usually the show, which he is.
Heel versus Ritz with special guest referee Matt.
We haven't fought yet. What are we on about? It's half an hour in and we haven't argued. We're doing pretty good.
I know, it's shocking. I mean, it's still early, but
yeah,
that's all right.
Kind of to round it out, Maddie. It is what it is. I don't have a real issue with it. People are getting hung. I feel like people want to vilify WWE. So again, the same people who are bitching about WWE,
here we go again,
running their business are the same idiots out there dying to have the NBA and the NHL run empty arena stuff. What's the fucking difference? What is the difference?
Go back to him.
If WWE wants to run an empty arena show, what is the difference if MLB, NBA, NHL, and fucking motherfucking NFL decide to run out and do that? There's no difference.
I'll tell you. I will tell you why. And we'll pull the punk card now. I'll tell you why. Because they look at wrestling as a show. They don't look at it as a sport. So they think, oh, well, because it's a show, it needs to be in front of people. Whereas a sport can be in an empty arena, which is bullshit. That's a bullshit argument if you're going to make it.
What show do you watch that has a live audience anymore? What fucking show?
But that's the point. That's going to be the argument that those idiots make at the end of the day.
James Shaw 30 says, if having no fans makes me get sports back, I'm all for it. I'm with you. I have no problem with the WWE running their shows. They're Andy was spot on. It's a controlled environment, right? And what is the NBA and NHL talking about doing an MLB? Putting people in a controlled environment that they can work.
I do not care. I've said this before. If they bring back the Stanley Cup playoffs and the Flyers won the cup by some miracle, I will fucking be at that parade in a goddamn hazmat suit with a fucking gas mask on to watch that fucking parade. Why? Because it's going to be probably the only time I ever get a chance to fucking go to a parade, so I'm not going to fucking waste it just because there's a goddamn virus going around.
Well, I don't know if you're even going to get a parade, Matty.
No, we wouldn't anyway, but
it would be typical.
It'll be a virtual parade.
It would be typical Philadelphia that the Flyers and or the Sixers win a championship, and nobody can be there in attendance, and you can't have a parade for it. It is totally typical of what would happen for this city.
Oh, no, you can have a parade. Just drive down each street and everybody stands on their porch and waves.
Yeah. That might be what you have to do. Just send a player out to different neighborhoods, and let them just drive through.
Or they do some virtual house party shit where it's like, hey, come watch the Flyers drink and get drunk out of the Stanley Cup. Although I would actually watch that just to see what the fuck would happen, because it would probably be hilarious.
I would too, brother. I would too. But you know what? Like, James's point is spot on, kind of where Andy went, right? Like, this is again where the hypocrisy of things come. Why is it okay for the NBA? Don't you say that, Chrome? You're totally right, by the way. I know. I'm always right. I know this. But you're totally right, Andy. This is besides, we all know the Bruins were going to win. Hey,
no. Don't you do that. Don't you put the Bruins on us.
Swear to God, James, stick around a little bit. Have that fight in the next show.
Yeah. I'm gonna get to Anthony's comment in a second. But you're spot on, Andy, in that this is a way. There's somebody out there now who's doing the trial and error for everybody else. And we're talking about posting teams up in hotels and controlling their environments. So why is it okay for them and not okay for the WWE to do it?
Go ahead, Andy.
Vince is so used to being under that, that negative light that he's like, screw it. We're going to do it, and we're going to be hated. We're going to be hated if we do it. We're going to be hated if we don't do it. So we might as well just do it, right?
True. I will say this, though. The one thing that does concern me with doing that, and yeah, I understand controlling the environment is a little bit of the logistical issue. Yeah, you can buy the complex and everything and push all the people into the hotel room and everything like that. Then you got to organize, how's food going to work? How is, any of the other things going to work? And then you got to be worried, are players going to try and sneak away? Because not every player is, and I'm not saying that people aren't taking this seriously, they are, but not everybody is. You know what I mean?
Saying they're idiots.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just, there are people out there who, especially younger people will immediately say, well, because I'm not high risk, I don't care if I get it or not, and they'll go out and they'll do stupid shit. And, if you get paid a lot of money on a contract, that is unfortunately an incentive to be an idiot, and that's the only concern I have with that. Other than that, though, I'm perfectly fine with the idea of doing the empty arenas. I have no problem with it. That's my only concern, because I don't want them to contract it and then pass it on to other people.
You're right.
That's the only concern I have,
But I could see somebody like the MLB putting some kind of restrictions in place on this complex or hotel or whatever they end up putting the players.
It'll be on lockdown.
Yeah, it'll be lockdown. It'll be, where are you going? Why are you going there? Who are you going with? And how about hell no?
They listen. Those guys are contractually obligated, making a lot of money. They ain't leaving a facility if they report to it.
True.
That's the bottom line. I don't see it happening. And if that happens, and then that story gets out, I don't think anybody wants to fight that PR nightmare.
No.
I think that's why, that's why Vince, when the issues came up with Roman, is Vince going to say, no, man, I need you for WrestleMania? No, dude, you're a leukemia survivor, and you have chronic leukemia, which means it can come back at any time.
Where can I send the pizza?
Yeah, like, it's insane. No, absolutely not. Again, that's one of those hypocrisy things that, there's no reason that none of these organizations can if they can come up with a controlled environment, a sensible way to do it, that they shouldn't have the opportunity to do it. Otherwise, we're going to be watching a whole lot of reruns of The Big Bang Theory then.
And Tetris tournaments.
Wait, what's wrong with The Big Bang Theory?
Listen, if you want to watch the same fucking episodes 6 times a month, go for it, buddy. Ralph Delavecchia says, how about the Hardy Boys coming back soon? The WWE needs them. Well, Matt Hardy is in AEW. Jeff Hardy did come back recently.
Look at Andy. He looks so defeated right now.
Andy, you're such a mark. I love it, Ralphie. Thank you. Can we get Anthony's comment back about Japan?
Wait, did you call me a mark?
I think Chrome did.
Yeah.
I just like reacting to Ralphie and giving him a hard time.
Anthony says, what I don't get, wrestlers shine in Japan than in the States. But in the States, wrestlers look like shit and have the same gimmick in New Japan, but the gimmick looks like shit. It's different wrestling fans. Matty, you're the New Japan guy. You
take it from here.
Here's the thing. it depends on the wrestler. You know, New Japan is not the type to really get micromanaging with your matches. Gato doesn't book like that, who books New Japan. He pretty much trusts you to go out there and do it. He wouldn't put you on the show if he didn't believe you couldn't deliver. Because a lot of the guys who are there, who are gaijin, who are foreign wrestlers, they're supposed to be good at what they do. That's why they're there in the first place. You know, the young lions, the guys that they're training, they work with all the vets at the opening of the card where they can make a mistake and the vet's going to take care of them in the ring. So they've made it to the point where there's almost no margin for error, and it doesn't happen in that environment. And that's without micromanaging anything. That's just simply by having people in the right place to succeed and not controlling their matches. But some people are great in that environment. Some people are not. Some people need to have their hand held. But look at Goldberg. Goldberg would not have succeeded if somebody wasn't helping him along at the end of the day. You know? Why did Goldberg become such a big star? Well, I'll tell you why. Because he had guys in the ring that helped him look like $1 million. And he has said that multiple times in multiple documentaries on himself, his career, and everything. He has said, guys put me over, guys made me look good. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just listening to what they were telling me to do. Did it always work? Hell no. There was moments where it failed miserably. But there was a lot of times when he went on that streak, he looked amazing. He looked unstoppable. He had one of the best matches of his career was against DDP, and that was DDP who put that shit together at Halloween Havoc in '98. Skip past Warrior and Hogan, go right to that match. That's the only match worth watching on that entire show. But still, point is, some people thrive in that environment. Some people don't. It depends on the wrestler. Omega thrives in Japan. He probably would not work in WWE because he'll get cross with Vince real fucking quick because he can't do what he wants to do, so he won't get along with him. You know, and
I don't love Omega in AEW.
But that's my point. My point is that he thrives in his own environment, quote unquote, but he won't get along with Vince and he won't take advice if he's doing something wrong. And we've seen that. He doesn't take criticism very well.
Case in point, Maddie, last week, that match that they had with Best Friends versus Omega and Michael Nakazawa was fucking terrible. It was awful. That's the kind of shit you'd see at DDT Wrestling. Michael Nakazawa stinks. Michael Nakazawa has no business having a job in AEW. AEW, they have a lot of talent there, but it's also who you know. If you're a friend, if you're Omega's buddy, you probably are going to have an opportunity to job in AEW. We've seen a lot of it, and it was. I mean, I'm not the biggest Cornette guy. He is very controversial. I love him. It's a love-hate thing. I appreciate his honesty, but his honesty is also at times
his honesty gets him in so much trouble.
But his honesty is very out of touch, very dated, quite a bit. I agree with a lot of stuff that he says, just not the way that he conveys it.
I will say, too, I mean, I agree with a lot of what Cornette says about a lot of the goofier stuff that happens in wrestling because, you know, it's just like, okay, it's fine if you have a gimmick that gets over and it is goofy. You know, like Too Cool was funny back in the day and it got over for a period of time. It wasn't enough for them to continue forever, but it was enough for 2000 and it made them some money, you know, and it got them the tag titles. But would they work now? Probably not, you know, because it's like, we saw this back in 2000. They're not going to work now. It's old. You know, what I will say is that I agree with him for the most part, but there's some things I don't necessarily agree with him on, you know, like, and it's fine. You know, it's just one thing I will say, is the major reason why I'm such a fan is because he fucking hates Russo. I'll be completely honest with you. I just love hearing him bash Russo. Like,
I'm just a fan because he's good. He's always good for a good rant. Yes. Right? He may not say the right things. He may not, you know, convey the right message, but damn it, it's funny when he gets annoyed. It's a blast.
Well, so, I mean, his recent episode where he had Kevin Sullivan on, he went over this match with Omega and Nakazawa, and he's spot on. You know, the baby oil stuff is the dumbest shit I've ever seen. And he says, even if you suspend belief, do you really think because a guy splashes baby oil on himself, you're not going to make a sound, first of all. No, it's going to make a bigger sound because you're wet. and then your hand's just going to slide off and it's not going to feel them? No matter how hard you hit a guy, is that what happens? You just go, no, it's unrealistic. He put baby
Wait,
oil,
he
I
does
think,
what?
on his crotch or on the ropes or something like that, and he was running his like crotch going across the ropes, and Cornette's spot on again. He says, you dumb bastards, if you put baby oil on the ropes, you're going to slide across the ropes. It's going to make it even easier as opposed to harder. They made it sound like it was harder. They presented it as if because there's baby oil on the ropes, it's going to hurt the guy less. And it's like, no, you dumb fucks. It's going to be easier on you than if you're running across a rough rope with your dick. I'm like, yo, this guy's spot on.
Well, and
It was terrible.
And like this is where it's moments like that that make me look at AEW and go, "This is just an independent company with a TV deal."
And that's the sad part, because it's like, here's my problem with that: the indie smarks are only so many of them. They are a small percentage of the audience. No matter how much you want to justify, like, oh, they're everybody, that's bullshit.
Right.
The majority of the audience are families, kids, because WWE changed its product to fit them. That's where most of the audience is in North America. You're not going to get anybody else if you constantly put out stupid shit like this. It's not even WWE goofy. And also on top of it, too, Vince can get away with WWE goofy. You want to know why? Because it's WWE. They're the biggest company in the entire country, the fucking world, too. They can get away with stupid shit. They can get away with someone saying something dumb. They can get away with the suffering succotash fucking promo from Roman Reigns. I'm like, yeah, you can get away with that. You want to know why? Because it's WWE. They can recover from this. If they did that shit on AEW, you'd be like, well, fuck it. You just ruined Roman's career. It's time for him to go off to fucking somewhere else now because you guys just butt fucked him. You know, it's just like, they don't think. They think that because the indie guys like it and the indie fans like it, that's what's going to appeal to the mass fans. It's not. It's a totally different environment when you're on national television, and they don't fucking get it.
And let me just say to our audience, this is coming from Maddie, who is a huge New Japan guy, an indie guy. This is not coming from like, I grew up a WWE guy and WCW guy. I watched the big. I like the indies. You know, I was an ECW guy, and I was I go to House of Hardcore. Like, I'm into that stuff in CZW, but I'm a big league guy. It's more of what I follow. Maddie, I've only just recently, over the last 3 or 4 years, really started to watch New Japan, which is great. But
Yeah.
Maddie's that guy who, I got to tell you, when AEW kicked off, I expected me and Maddie to be butting heads all the time. But he's seeing a lot of the stuff that we see, and it's hard to suspend the disbelief. And the thing is, they need to find the happy medium of how can we present as a big league, you know, above what the independents are. You don't have to be WWE, but how can we be a serious player and be a different alternative without doing the gimmicky shit?
And the best way to compare and contrast is this: when you're trying to draw people to the ECW arena that fits maybe at most 200, 300 people, and maybe a little
Probably
bit more
than that. Probably like
500.
a
little bit about that. Point is, that's totally different ball game than trying to fill a minor arena. That's a minor arena, not a big city arena, a second city arena, second market, which fits about 25,000 people, 35 at the most, right? So
I think
you're trying
high.
a little, maybe 1,500 or 15,000. Or am I getting a little bit close to the ballpark?
Yeah.
Okay. Point is, that's still a challenge because you can fit 500 people into the ECW arena because everybody has that expectation of this is an indie show. But you're trying to appeal to a mass audience that wants to go to a show with their family, or they want to go to a wrestling show that's not WWE. Be like, oh, okay, cool. What are we going to get here? Are we going to get something exciting and different? And they see Michael Nakazawa rubbing baby oil all over themselves. You're like, why the fuck did I come and waste my money on this fucking show? This is stupid. You know?
And that's the thing. So, like, and Anthony said he likes New Japan. He likes a lot of this stuff. He likes Mexican federations. You know, some of that stuff works there. I don't think that the baby oil thing would work in New Japan. It worked worked in DDT because DDT was like a goofy federation. That's the thing. He's Omega's buddy. He didn't even work with him in New Japan. He worked with him at DDT, which is almost like a comic relief. It's like doing a friggin' stand-up session.
Well, and it's okay to be being, you don't want to be WWE. You want to be something different, right?
Well, of course.
It's okay to be a major league player, but still incorporate some of that natural indie love that people have. Like, Maddie, you go to an indie show because you love wrestling and you love the good talent. And yeah, you're going to get some goofy gimmick stuff, right? But some of it is tasteful. Do you know what I mean? Some of it's believable, right? We all like Joey Ryan, and that's the furthest thing from believable.
Well, I'm not a big fan of Joey Ryan because he made a really tasteless post one time on his Twitter during Easter, which was disgusting. But anyway,
I may have missed that, but I digress. Right? AEW had the opportunity to come in, give us a secondary option to WWE, but still take some of this stuff that we have, like Orange Cassidy isn't. I never thought that would work on a big level.
I've come around to it.
I've come around to it, and Chrome, like you're a big league guy. I don't watch the other promotions. It's not because I don't like them. I don't have the time.
Yeah. See, I watch them, but I watch them kind of with a grain of salt with a lot of things. And you're spot on. Orange Cassidy is a prime example, right? How can we and you know what else? You know how else it helped to get that over for me? They put him in the ring with a guy like Neville, and they worked an actual match. They had a spot in the middle that had the fun gimmicky stuff with it, but overall, they put on a great match that told a great story.
When he did the first flip, I think he flipped over Neville. Was how that chain starts.
Did I say Neville?
Pac, Neville, whoever. Right?
It's the same
I always
guy.
call him Pac. I don't know why I went to Neville for some reason there. But,
well, it's because of the WWE.
but
I always call him Pac now. I never make that mistake. I don't know why I did. But go ahead, Eddie.
I think he does that first like roll over Pac's back or something like that. The place erupted.
It was great.
And then I was like, all right, whatever. He just did a roll, but then he drops does a drop kick with his hand still in his pocket. So all right, I'm in. Like now you have me invested. This guy can keep his hands in his pockets and do all the flippy shit he wants to do, right? Because now you're actually wrestling a match.
Yeah. Let me get to some of the comments in a minute. Go ahead, Maddie. Make your point. And I'm going to get to some comments.
And another perfect example is Darby Allin, because he was known for hardcore wrestling, but he got into an actual match and showed, he can actually go, because he had a matchup with Cody Rhodes that ended in a draw. And the Rhodes had a major part in it, but he was phenomenal in that contest. So it's just like, shit, Rhodes picked the right guy. He must have saw him and said, you know what, I want to wrestle that guy. And obviously Cody has an eye for talent. He definitely inherited his father's genes in that regard. But
for sure.
So James, I'm going to get to Dakota's question in a second. James said, adding to the controlled environment, they wouldn't have to change much. They already cater every game. Remember when Wentz was getting food after the game after he tore his ACL? Yep. Ralph says WWE should have a throwback night and bring back the Hardys and RVD and Goldust. Well, we can't have RVD, we can't have Goldust, can't have Matt Hardy. So,
but I'm going to piggyback off of this, and you know what they should do when they get crowds back? When they go to pay-per-views, have a throwback pay-per-view set. Bring back SummerSlam. Bring back the Giant S. I want that fucking Giant S back in the goddamn entrance.
So
that shit was fucking kick ass back in the day, man.
You know, it's funny when you were kind of bringing up. You mentioned Halloween Havoc, and I thought to myself, man, that's a WCW pay-per-view I'd love to see them bring back and replace with some of the stupid ones. I love Halloween Havoc.
I'm not a fan of those. But only why? Because they're a special match, and it's just like. But the joy of it was you never knew when they were coming. But now you know. Now you know when they're going to be.
Right.
It's like
when TNA started doing Lethal Lockdown.
Yeah, you knew it was coming. And it's just like, well, the joy of an Elimination Chamber in a Hell in a Cell is it could happen at any time. You didn't know,
You're right, but at the same time, they had Fall Brawl, which was another pay-per-view. I'm glad that they do the War Games again. But that was another one that we knew was always going to happen. And I look forward to it every year. So I think it's kind of it's pick and choose with that. But
just one last thing before we go to the rest of the comments. I will say I think maybe it's because the way it's introduced. Hell in the Cell was introduced as it could happen at any time. You never know. Elimination Chamber the same way, not a pay-per-view. Whereas War Games always was a pay-per-view thing.
That's true. I mean, listen, if there's a couple things that I want to bring back. I would love to see them do a throwback pay-per-view with the guardrails. I'd love to see them do a blue cage, steel cage match.
That would be nice.
And I want Halloween Havoc. That's what I want. That's it.
But
Give me
with that entrance with the giant golem and the pumpkin, it has to be that one.
Yes,
no other
I agree.
One. Yeah.
I totally agree. James also said on top of that, they can easily have these guys play, put them, or I can correlate to wrestling too. Wrestle, put them up, feed them and their families, because at this point I'm desperate. He's desperate for football or basically sports. Anthony says Omega is pretty good in AEW. I mean, his in-ring work is good stuff. See, I was enamored by this guy, but I feel like it's the same shit over and over again.
Here's my theory on this. In NJPW, he didn't have to necessarily always carry every match. Whereas he was always working with someone. If he wasn't doing well, that person can overcome that. Whereas in AEW, he's not always working with people like that,
Right.
And it's starting. He's got to be the ring general, and he can't be. And I think that's starting to show in AEW.
Let me see. Anthony says the Spanish guy could be a better wrestler if Sammy could wrestle more luchadors. Joey says hashtag baby oil talk. Jerry Pline says hi guys. What's up, Jerry? Dakota Marshall asks thoughts on David Benoit possibly joining AEW or WWE in the future. I don't see WWE ever happening. Be realistic
Neither do
here.
I. And I think we almost need to save this.
Yeah.
And bring it up next week, especially.
Yeah, you know what, Dakota? Not to leave you hanging for a week, but next week, and I don't know if you've watched it, so maybe it's something you'll want to check out, and it'll change. It'll influence your opinion on this. Watch Dark Side of the Ring. We're going to be covering all 5 of the first episodes next week on this program, and the very first episode was a 2-part episode. Was about the Benoit murders. David Benoit is a part of it. It's great. I mean, you may have seen it, but if you haven't seen it, or if anybody out there hasn't seen it, I feel like your question is a great question, but it'd be much better to address it next week when we dive into that, because they do address his relationship with WWE in that. I don't think we want to dive too much into that because we have that next week's show. What I will say is, if he can work, I think AEW would be a good place for him. I'll leave it at that. Joseph Horakovsky says, Matt, are you going to change your backdrop for Hockey Happy Hour?
No, I think it's fine the way it is.
Anthony says, you guys have to realize AEW is still new to the wrestling world. Here's the thing with that, Anthony. AEW may be as a name new to the wrestling world. The producers, the bodies who make the decisions are not new to the wrestling world. A lot of them had pull in Ring of Honor and were basically running Ring of Honor as talent. A lot of them had say in New Japan. This isn't the first time to go. It's a boys club, and that's the problem for me. Is I'm seeing a lot of the boys. There are some things they've done great. I never thought I'd be a Bucks guy, and I'm a Bucks guy. They pulled me over on Orange Cassidy's. A few people. What I for the love of God don't understand why Jim Ross has an on-screen job. He is off, and for WWE, I don't know why why Lawler does either. It makes no sense to me. But there are a lot of things that they're doing wrong that they're not listening to their fans. Because a lot of people are bitching every week about JR. And they continue to do what WWE does.
Number 3?
Trot his old ass out there.
And then also, let's not forget the disaster that is the AEW women's division. So,
Wait, it still exists?
Yeah, and you can blame Omega for it falling right the fuck apart immediately.
Sarah Logan probably goes there and is immediately a top contender for their title.
Well,
she's not. See Sarah Logan versus Britt Baker.
She doesn't know Omega, so I don't think so.
Cody will snatch her up.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Let's see. Frank says a ladder and a cat won the DDT title. Both of them were better champions than Goldberg and Brock Lesnar ever as Universal. Tom chimes in. He says, "What's up, boys? What's up,
Tom.
Mister? What's up, Big Dad?" Anthony Ada says, "What I don't get is when people leave WWE and they go to another Fed and they still act like they're in WWE." Another knock I have on AEW: we're still featuring old WWE talent. Almost every main event they have is a WWE former talent. And then the
True.
ones, they were supposed to be an outlet for some of these guys to go who couldn't get over in WWE. And look at what Shawn Spears has become. What a disgrace and a disservice they've done to him. I mean, Pac, I like Pac, and there's been moments of it, but he's another one who I feel like is starting to spin his damn wheels in AEW.
And I'm going to say this, too, with the AEW Championship. Jericho losing to Moxley. I love Moxley as much as the next guy, but Moxley doesn't need the belt. He doesn't. He's his own attraction. You should have saved Jericho losing that title to somebody who they were developing. You know, to a Hangman Page or to an MJF if Jericho was in a multi-person match and MJF snuck in a win or something like that. Point is...
Go ahead.
Okay. Point is that a young talent is supposed to get the rub if you beat Jericho, because Jericho is your biggest star. And I mean, you could say, you can try and say Moxley is. I don't care. Go ahead and argue it all you want. But at the end of the day, Jericho is the guy who's getting eyeballs to your TV. You need to put him in a matchup with a young guy and have him drop the belt to that young guy so that that person's elevated. That's how you develop talent. That's how it's always been done since the days of the goddamn territories. That doesn't change. Doesn't matter what product you have nowadays. That shit didn't change.
Or you know what, Maddie? I'm even going to go, even if you're going to say, okay, we're not necessarily going to go to a young guy. Give it to a guy who could use the rub. Like a made-ready storyline with Jake Hager, who has been a former world champion, but his world titles were basically frowned upon by fans who all of a sudden think he's this great guy now. He's not a different worker. He's the same fucking guy. I like him. I always liked him. I never knocked him as swagger. I liked him. But that's a guy who, if you're going to go with a former WWE talent, you know, I think the idea is, oh man, let's like establish the legacy with these guys, these big name guys of Jericho, with Moxley, when you don't need to do it. You did it with Jericho already. That put it on the map as a legitimate world title. So go out there, some of those guys who could use it, like you mentioned, or a Jake Hager who now has a chance to reinvent himself in AEW, be taken seriously. Have that dissension with the inner circle and let him be the guy. And let him, even if it's like a 3-month run, give him a run with the title, a 3, 4, 5-month run with the title, and build him up. And then have a young guy beat him.
Yeah, and you mentioned Shawn Spears, another guy who was not used all that much in WWE, and he fizzled out. He comes to AEW with a lot of hype behind him, and he has this big match build-up with Cody, and he jobs to Cody. And that killed his momentum. Just immediately. I would not have had Cody go over, honestly. When he went over, I thought, I mean, great that Cody won, but at the same time, it's like, should have been Shawn, because if you want to establish a legitimate talent to be a heel and be somebody that should be taken seriously, they got to beat the guy that you think is unbeatable at the end of the day.
And you know what, Maddie? You're spot on, because at least the first time.
Yes.
And I look at it and I say, let's go back to WWE and let's look at Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens came in and Kevin Owens defeated John Cena.
He did.
He may not have beat him after that, but he beat Cena that first time. So every time they faced each other, you always said he could beat him. He has before. So that put a legitimacy behind Kevin Owens going forward. This was an opportunity. You could have gave Cody back his win. But it should have been Shawn Spears to begin with, to come out of the gate and get that win over. Cody didn't need it. And I love Cody. Everybody knows I've been a Cody mark from day one. I have always thought Cody was an underutilized talent in WWE. I've always thought that he could be a top talent if he was given the opportunity. And he's proven it. And and I don't understand why now MJF is his buddy. So MJF is the one that gets the rub. Shawn Spears should have been the guy to get the rub first. MJF didn't need it. MJF's the biggest heel in the indies. MJF's a guy who managed to work the indies and get his name out there in the mainstream. He didn't need it. That's why when people say, Cody put MJF over. No, MJF was already over. MJF didn't need it.
He showed
up
over
because he's his buddy.
Yes, and he showed up at All Out with the show that they did before AEW even existed, and people knew who MJF was, and he was hated. He had heat everywhere. He was the opening match, and he went out there and he faced off with, was it Matt Cross? I forget who he was facing. It was a lifer indie guy. But point is that he had heat from that audience, and that was a sold-out crowd in the Allstate Arena. That's not a small arena. So it's just like, this guy had that popularity. You need to give rubs to guys who are not over, or guys who at the end of the day have not built up that reputation yet. You have to build up talent, because 3 years or 5, say 7 or 8 years down the line, say Moxley retires, say Jericho's no longer wrestling. What are you going to do? What, are you guys going to put the belt on Cody or Kenny and just say, okay, you guys are champ. We don't know who the fuck to put it on now because all the young guys we pissed away. You can't do that, you know?
And that's the whole thing, right? Like, when AEW came out, and you guys have touched on it wonderfully, right? When AEW came out, they said, we're going to be different. We're going to highlight all these independent talents that haven't gotten a voice. They don't have a voice, right? But what did they do? They went in, they scooped up all the old school talent, you know? And I said it back then, I'll say it now, and I'll say it until the day I die. AEW is just this there it is. Just this generation's WCW.
Yeah.
Okay? That's it. AEW is this generation's WCW. They're doomed to fail if they keep going along this lines, because you're not building your talent. You're not building your company. To Chrome's point earlier, it's a boys' club. All it is for guys that don't have anywhere else to go. They're going to come in and they're going to wrestle. And I know that's not exactly what it is, but when you break it down to its core, right, that's how I perceive it. It's all these guys, they're just getting together and having the fun, and no.
If we're establishing this organization as something different, how are the Lucha Bros not the first tag team champions in this organization?
Who are the tag team champions right now?
Hangman and Omega.
Omega and Hangman Page.
Get out. I'm done.
And you know what they're doing is they're utilizing it the same way WWE does. When people say, no, it's different, it's not. They're using 2 single stars to fill a tag team title spot to enhance a single storyline.
And the worst part of it is that I'm not a fan of it because of the fact that it's like, okay, so you're either turning Omega heel or you're turning Hangman heel, because that's how that ends. And the problem is, I don't like the idea of turning Hangman heel, because he was heel in a stable called the Bullet Club, but there was a shit ton of people in the Bullet Club, so if you couldn't get over as a heel, it doesn't matter. You still had everybody else leading the way.
And everybody hated you regardless.
Yes, and so it's a totally different story. Now he's got to try and be a heel on his own and get heat? Fuck off. He has no experience doing that.
You have them beating SoCal. I just pulled it up. SoCal Val, which is Frankie Kazarian and Scorpion Sky.
SoCal Uncensored.
SoCal Uncensored. Did I say SoCal Val?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it's an understandable mess up. Right?
Brock is not happy with you right now.
Well, it's an understandable mess up, right?
It's okay.
SVU?
Go away. Go back to your hole.
Brodo, it's okay. He's the host of the Super Astros. Just give him a moment. He has to catch up.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I don't see you pulling stuff up over there.
I don't have to. It's all up here.
Well, considering you said that MJF fought it all out, and I don't have record of him fighting it all out.
Well, all out. It was one of the shows. Anyway, point is that he was super hated when he rolled out.
But you have them beating Frankie Kazarian and Scorpion Sky at the Jericho Cruise. Why? To Chrome's point, why aren't the Lucha Bros in there? Why are we taking 2 people that are not supposed to be together and putting them in this spot?
The only theory
why are the best friends working with Omega and Michael fucking Nakazawa?
Yeah,
who is that tool?
Nakazawa's just Omega's buddy. That's it. That's all he is.
Okay.
That's all he is. And then on the other thing too is my theory, and it still doesn't explain it. Maybe their problem is that they can't get a commitment from the Lucha Bros to carry the belts because they're doing also Mexico at the same time, because they're not exclusive. So the thing is that they're doing the commitments for AAA while doing stuff for AEW. But it's like, okay, here's my problem with that. You mean to tell me that you can't call Conan, who's booking that fucking shit, and say, hey, Conan, we're going to put the tag titles on the Lucha Bros. Can you allow us to utilize them on weekly television? And in exchange, we will have them make appearances with those tag team titles on AAA television. You can't tell me that Conan wouldn't be interested in doing that? Conan's smart. He freaking knows the business. He's been in it for how freaking long? The fuck are you talking about?
Anthony says MJF should have been the champion, not Moxley. Him and Page should be champion just because he's a true AEW guy. That's from Joey. Anthony says Archer is the younger Goldberg. I don't really care about Lance Archer.
I could care less about that guy.
Or Lance Hoyt, in case anyone doesn't remember who that person is from his TNA days.
Yep. Yeah, it's just I don't know. I don't get the program. I really try. Like, I'm not a guy who likes to dump on anybody. I really don't. It might not come off that way sometimes. It's true. I want them all to succeed, Andy. I want all of them to succeed, Andy, except for Nia. All of them. And Bailey.
Keep going.
And Sasha.
Keep going.
That's it.
Okay.
Just those three, and they're all women too. I think I think we just saw Secret Agenda come out on Chrome's part there.
Lars Sullivan.
That's a good one, Lars Sullivan, who I'm surprised wasn't part of the cuts, but I think because he's hurt, he can't be cut. Because I think he would have been on that list.
You know what? I'm going to leave that alone. Goodbye.
Thanks for your drop in,
I want to hear this.
Thanks for your drop in, Brock.
Well,
but
there's a joke to make about Lars Sullivan not being cut, and oh well. But anyway,
we digress.
Yeah, we're gonna be wrapping up fairly soon. I think somebody asked where they can find Dark Side.
Yeah,
of the
Joey
Ring.
did, and it's on YouTube.
It's on the channel Vice. So if you have Vice with your cable provider, it is on demand. You can also pull the full episodes up on YouTube. Andy watches it on YouTube, and I think they have both seasons episodes on YouTube.
I think the first season though you have to pay for.
Okay.
And they do. Oh, sorry. They do also have it if you have Xfinity. That is on demand as well.
Right. It's on Xfinity, dude.
Shit.
Yeah. Well, as long as Vice is a part of your cable package.
I don't think it's part of their cable package.
Oh.
Well, you could check it.
We'll do it right now. Keep talking.
And I will say this. Honestly, it's even worth renting the season on Amazon for like $3 or $4 just to kind of pop and watch it, to be honest with you. If that's the avenue that you have to go, like on Amazon Prime. So I actually bought the first season. I on Amazon Prime. I had a gift card for $100 and I bought the season for $15, and I'll probably buy season 2. So they don't have a hard copy of them, but I'm telling you,
a monkey's uncle.
It's on there. and you haven't watched season 1, right?
No.
So you need to go back. I actually went back and I watched 2 days ago. I watched the Randy Savage episode with Elizabeth, the match made in heaven, and I watched the Bruiser Brody episode back.
I know what I'm doing this weekend.
Just watch it.
I'm stunned right now. I can't believe, Andy, you haven't seen the first season?
Well, I haven't had cable for a while.
Oh.
And when I got the cable access that I have now, I didn't see it on there, so I just watched the stuff that I could find on YouTube and listen to Chrome rant about it.
Oh, okay.
So now go back and watch. I mean, we're going to talk season 2. We're not going to get in. I mean, we could do another episode and we can dive into the stories of season 1. I think we talked about it. I would like to make some sort of a review of that show as a segment on here. And we could break it up or, whatever. I know we're going to kind of hit this whole season pretty hard of where we're at. And then the final 2 episodes we'll cover in the following weeks. But after this season's done, if we want to go back and just say, hey, guys, go back and rewatch this episode, we're going to cover and we're going to discuss it. Love to do that, too. I'm telling you, you're going to love it. It's to me, it's one of, if not the best, true kind of wrestling documentaries that I have watched. It is. You can go back and watch it multiple times. The Brawl for All episode, dude. It made me want to go back and watch that shitty tournament.
Yeah.
Oh,
It was good.
my God, I love that episode just because I got to hear more Russo bashing. Any Russo bashing I'm in for, quite
Yeah,
frankly.
Russo bashing's the greatest.
That's the best pastime I think every wrestling fan has, besides defending AEW.
Greg says, "What's up, fellas? I'm sorry I'm late. What show are you talking about?" We are talking about a lot of stuff, Greg. We're actually kind of previewing our Dark Side of the Ring episode next week that we're going to cover, and we'll touch on
Yes!
a little bit. What? What?
Brodo's shirt came in.
What?
I'll explain it. Greg got Ryan a present.
Oh, I already know.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm well aware.
This might be the first Ryan's hearing about it, though.
Oh, well, good. Well, we'll wait on that then.
Oh, Brock's back.
Tom says,
Oh, I
Greg,
know.
keep up. Dark Side of the Ring."
I'm aware.
Yes!
All right. So great questions here, guys. So this is actually from Chris Lentz. Great question. It'll actually lead us into our final segment here before we hop off. And Chris asks, what is your favorite memories of Howard Finkel? Today, it was announced when we woke up this morning that the legendary Hall of Fame voice, the voice of WrestleMania. I don't care what anybody says. You want to say JR, these guys, to me, the voice of WrestleMania is Howard Finkel. The legend passed away at the age of 69. Very sad. I mean, across all of the wrestling world, and it's crazy coming off of a day like yesterday, too. Howard was pretty sick. I think he had a major stroke a couple of years ago. But, just kind of get some reaction from you guys on your thoughts about Howard going, moving on and passing on. We'll start with Maddie.
Well, some of my favorite moments with Fink, I just remember the first time hearing him, I was blown away by his voice. He had that loud voice that sounded like an announcer. When you hear a ring announcer and you think of a ring announcing voice, that's the one right there. People say Michael Buffer, but I go with Fink, honestly. I just, maybe he had the saying Mike did, but who cares? Howard still had that voice, man, and everybody will remember that, and I just remember him announcing for Raw, and how he blew Tony Chimmel out of the water every time because Tony Chimmel was doing SmackDown at the time.
Yeah.
And it's just, man, I wish Howard did both shows.
Andy?
Yeah. I mean, and it's actually kind of funny that we asked this question and it popped up on my Facebook feed earlier in the day, and I had a whirlwind day at work, and it was when Howard introduced CM Punk at Survivor Series for Alberto Del Rio. Actually, Ryan, throw it up for a minute if you're seeing my screen share. Like, that's chills right there.
Yeah.
That piece, right? Just the introducing, right? That, like, his voice was so iconic, and it ties to so many different moments that, like, early in the Attitude Era, and those big moments, those nights that we were watching, were like, wow. You don't realize that till later, but that's a big one for me. And then his Hall of Fame speech is one of my favorites.
And it completes an entrance too. Just think of all the great epic WrestleMania entrances. The Rock, Austin, Hogan when he came back. It's just like Fink just completes it. He really does.
Yeah, like Tony Schiavone, not Tony Schiavone. God bless, I'm having a day. Tony Chimmel to Edge is Howard Finkel to a lot of those WrestleMania moments that we had.
Yeah, I would agree with that. For me, it's WrestleMania. Like I said, I've always said he's the voice of WrestleMania to me. all the biggest main events. You know, I've never been a Justin Roberts fan. I think Justin
Really?
Roberts, I just don't think that it never clicked for me. Growing up a Fink guy, Justin Roberts never clicked for me. And honestly, it kind of was solidified because when I hear Mike Rome, and I like Mike Rome a lot, I don't see that big of a difference between Mike Rome and Justin Roberts.
See, I like Justin for his Undertaker entrance.
But guys can be synonymous with certain people,
Right.
right? Even you know, you can even give Justin Roberts to John Cena, right? And now he's ripping it off and doing it for John Moxley, and he said that himself. But for me,
Incoming.
it's WrestleMania. It's going back, and when you watch those old clips, especially the early days in Madison Square Garden, and they have that microphone that would come down, and he would have to hold that piece that had MSG across the front.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to me, it's so iconic and so legendary. And then I think of the funny moments and some of the stuff that wasn't so great. His feud with Harvey Whippleman was pretty hilarious. You can even go back to WrestleMania 10 with what was his name, Cy or whatever from the
Cy
Hair Club
Sperling.
and he had that terrible hairpiece on. And it's just and Fink was a guy who had fun. He would go out and do anything. You know what I mean? He would whatever entertained the crowd. The Fink was always a part of it. You know, I was fortunate enough to meet him a couple of times at some conventions. I feel like a dumbass now because over the last couple of years, I've kind of regretted that I didn't spend the $15 to take a picture with the guy. We just talked to him. And in hindsight now, I'm like, damn, I could have spent $15 to take a picture with him. I wish I would have, you know. But he was just always such a really nice guy. And man, when you go to those conventions, dude, he was so kind to people. And the voice was the voice. When he would say hi to you, hey, how are you doing? It was the voice.
Well, do you guys ever go and like? I went down the rabbit hole one night and I found he would be hired to do wedding introductions. Have you guys ever watched any of those?
No, but I mean,
they are a trip.
I wish I could have that opportunity. I freaking totally would.
They are a trip to watch him do wedding introductions because these people come out dressed like wrestlers, right? And he's into it. He comes in and he's like, all right, it's WrestleMania, more or less is the vibe you get from him. And like every time he grabbed that microphone and he said, you know, the following contest is scheduled for one fall or whatever the case may be, it was like the biggest moment.
Yeah.
Like he made it all seem like they were all huge moments.
And also, I don't think anybody really said scheduled for one fall until Fink started doing it, and now everybody copies it. You know, have you ever noticed that? The only person, everybody else was saying it differently, and then everybody starts copying Fink now. Everybody says it. Everybody does.
And you know, kind of just to tie a bow on it too, one of the real great touches where they kept him in the loop in WrestleMania was when he was still able to come back and announce the Hall of Fame class.
Yep.
So I'm going to miss that. Be honest with you, I'm going to miss it a lot. You know, he's a bigger. When you grew up in the 80s and 90s watching wrestling specifically, and he was constantly the guy. You kind of feel like you lost a little piece of your childhood. I mean, to me, it's as big as Okerlund when Mean Gene passed away.
Yeah.
Or even like, you know, a guy like a Randy Savage, you know, these guys were so synonymous. And the Fink transcended a lot of this and it wasn't an in-ring worker. He was just the guy behind it. He was the guy that set the table for the dinner. And he was the guy that cleaned up the plate at the end.
And it was never too much. Like anything he did was never too over the top, never too, you know, all right, like right now we're all complaining about JR and Jerry Lawler, right? Right. But we've never complained about the Fink. I think the Fink is one person that'll go down in history as somebody that we got the right amount of Fink every time we saw him. It was never too much. It was never too little.
And I will say, just to finish out, my favorite memory, 98, when he got his head shaven, his hairpiece got shaved off by Jeff Jarrett, and then SummerSlam, X-Pac fought Jeff Jarrett, and he came out with him, and then he said, "Suck it," over the microphone. I don't know why. That was just such a funny moment. I was like, that's great. And just to see him do the whole, crotch chop and everything with X-Pac in the ring, I'm like, God bless Howard. Like, seriously, you can't hate the man. Like, seriously.
Quick breaking news story.
Uh-oh.
Wrestling related.
That's a first.
Per Ringside News, the first pro wrestling coronavirus death reported.
Yeah, I did have that up here.
Heard that. Yep.
Mexican luchador Black Demon passes away at the age of 39. His real name, Roberto Munoz Carrillo, passed away on April 13th. So, first case.
This might go down as one of the darkest weeks in recent years for pro wrestling, just as an industry as a whole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very sad. But yeah, rest in peace from all of us here to the Fink. It's so just, I think this is kind of a great way to end it right now. We'll encompass it this way. We're all such a different generation. I'm 35. Maddie, you're what, 23?
26.
Oh shit, 26. How old are you, Andy?
28.
All right, you're old as shit.
He went the whole show and he didn't say a word. He didn't make a single shot at me. And then here we are getting ready to end on a nice note, and I'm old as shit.
Well, Andy, it's called picking your spot.
Before we get out, Ryan, did you want to say anything about the Fink?
No, you guys covered it. You guys absolutely covered it. I'll say shout out to the Gimmick Battle Royal at WrestleMania, as I always do.
Oh, it's one of your Yeah. So, and you know what? Also, I told you guys, we were just talking about it. One of my favorite WrestleManias. Shout out to the Fink and a Toga at WrestleMania 9, man. Crushed it.
That's right. Yeah.
But you know what? And Ryan, I know, is younger than you guys. So that even, we're encompassing about 13, 14 years of us here. And all of us have seen Fink at different phases. Some of us didn't really get to experience him when he was going on, but still understand his legacy. And look, everybody feels the same way about it. That tells you you've left your mark. Mm-hmm. So rest in peace to the Fink. Our condolences to his family, from us here at the show, from A2D, to his family, to his fans around the world. We love you, Fink, and I know he's up there probably calling a savage warrior match. Up there. Right now, they're probably getting ready to get going.
You got Bobby and Gorilla on commentary, and Andre's a special guest referee.
I like it. Guys, again, next week, make sure you join us. Go back, do your homework for next week, because you're gonna want to have seen it to be a part of this conversation, to engage in this conversation.
Well, isn't
go back
your
and
show
watch
next week on Tuesday?
It is on Tuesday. Good call. Shit, I forgot. That's
how do you forget about that?
Damn it!
That's all you have to look forward to right now in that world.
I know. Well, you know what? We're not even going to get the Dino Bravo episode in, because it's going to be on that night. Set your DVRs too to watch that after us. Shit, that's okay. You know what? It gets its own segment the following week. Listen, guys. So homework for the fans, for the fam. Go back, watch the Benoit episode, the Benoit murders. Watch the Dino Bravo episode, the Jimmy Snuka episode. Go back and watch the Brawl for All, and what was the other one?
The New Jack episode.
And oh my God, the New Jack episode.
That was
good Lord.
Wow, that was a rough one to get through.
We're going about 2 hours next week on Tuesday. We're going to give a half an hour to each episode to chat about it. So do it. Check it out. You won't regret it. You'll want to be a part of the conversation. Thank you to you, Ritz, for joining us.
No problem. Don't forget, guys, there is no In This Very Ring this week. There will be the A2D mock draft Saturday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time.
Yes, check that out. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, it's going to be a mess.
You're going to be a part of it. Brodo's going to be a part of it. Thank you, Ryan, for producing. Maddie, as always, scholar, gentleman, a handsome man. And shout out to our sponsors, PlayQB54.com, AmbuckServices.com. Check them out. Remember, let them know that the fam sent you. You get 20% off of their services, and as well as our guy, the doctor, Dr. Paul Vidal at Specialized Physical Therapy. Check him out on the web, specializedphysicaltherapy.com. For Chrome, Maddie, Stat Guy Ritz, Brodo behind on the ones and twos. We love you guys. Stay safe. Stay the hell home so we can get out of the house. We love you. Take care.
Later, guys.